My name's Ian Exell, no relation to the John guy, the Excel Energy up there, and in a very different area to Marina, who's just over there. So I've been with Allianz for 15 years, doing a variety of roles, and I've been doing automation for about 3 or 4. So I'm going to hand you over to Jordan, who's going to introduce himself.
Yep. Hi everyone. My name's Jordan Bradford. I'm a delivery lead with UST, and just excited to talk to you about the work that we've been doing with Ian and his Allianz AGCS team and C2.
Nice. Oh, there we go. So just a little bit about my area of Allianz. We do a lot of the commercial insurance. So there are probably we probably have policies with a vast majority of people in this room. We do everything from boats to ship to aircraft to directors and officers. So my insurance is slightly different. It's high value, low volume, and that's probably why C2 actually works. But so within my area, I've got 43 bots. AGCS has been doing automation for, I think, 2017 was probably when we kicked it off. And originally it was held up by, it was managed and run by the operations team, so no IT involvement. I was doing something else. I was doing release and portfolio management, and they built it up. And then back end of 22, they had an 8-week outage with it, and they then decided that they probably needed some IT help and some things. So my first 18 months within my role was basically stabilization. So we've managed to get some core processes. We've stopped sort of being reactive to the business change, to the incidences that we have. We're supported offshore entirely by 15 people, and my L1 and BAU team are within my captive area. So that's been good. However, it doesn't mean to say that we're not without problems. And one of the things that I'm seeing is a massive increase in demand. I do 4 or 5 business cases a year, looking at how we're going to automate the process, how we're going to move that in. But that doesn't mean to say there's no scalability issues. So we have a really, really high cost of entry for our automation and for actually doing the development work. One of the key things I found was when I first took over, the guys turned around to me and said, I have a 95% utilization ratio. And I thought, that's great, fantastic. I think that chap knows what's coming. The reality of it is, when I started digging into it, it was 30% of actual bots with their fingers on the keyboard. So effectively by Tuesday, so if you start the working week, by Tuesday my bots were taking it off. They were going, thank you very much, and I'm going off. So I don't find that kind of, you'd probably sack somebody if they were only working Monday to Tuesday. So that's one of my big bugbears and my big issues. So thankfully, an email appeared in my inbox from Matthew sitting in the corner saying, did I want to look at my automating my operations? And that's where C2 came in. So after much cajoling and some heavy lunches, together with C2, we launched a pilot back in the heady days of summer. And I think for me, we needed to answer 3 sort of very simple questions. And I kept it simple for a reason, is that the complexity that we work with in an Allianz is quite phenomenal, and my colleagues will probably tell you, well, I'd hope they back that statement up. A, is it compatible with my with my estate. And my colleague from Exell Energy and saying getting it up in a matter of weeks, ours wasn't. I'm centralised in terms of my bots. So my tenant, my UiPath tenant, is shared by a number of different OEs, so I can't actually do anything on it. So would it work in it? And we had a few road humps, I should say. A battle. And then, like everything, like everybody else in this room, everything is driven by cost and by the need to prove it, to have the business case. So within me, personally, that's looking at, can I reduce my bot estate? I started the year with 55 bots. I'm down to 43, 42. And that's through various bots, various processes rolling off and some efficiencies. But I needed to reduce that level. And then can I reduce my F1, my L1 team? I started the year with six members of staff, admittedly offshore, so my cost base and my cost model is quite low, but that's still quite a lot. So kick this off. And in terms of scope, we chose 10 processes. We limited it to 10. It says 2 months in duration. We'll gloss over that point. But very key, there was a mixture of frequencies, a mixture of volume that goes through. We don't do the biggest volumes. I do 1.7 million, as I alluded to, but it's not massive. It's not taking a feed in from Compare the Market or anything like that. But we have key times within the month where my bots need to work and they need to run. So that's why I chose those processes. And then we have a multiple UiPath tenancy. So I have some Orchestration as a service and a platform as a service. So I chose different things on that. And then the rest of it was carried on manually. And then I'm going to give the good bit over to Jordan.
The good bit. Thanks, Ian. So in terms of what we actually ended up with as a result of the pilot, so we onboarded 9 processes in the end to C2. Now, how the team worked beforehand was specific UiPath licenses were assigned to a process. So what we found is for those 9 processes, there were 7 dedicated UiPath licenses. Now, after running the pilot, what we actually found was only 2 were needed to run those. So yes, there might be peaks every now and then, but in general, you can look at immediately cutting out 5 of those licenses. What C2 also allowed us to look at was not only the onboarded processes, but we could, even though they weren't orchestrated with C2, we had visibility within the UI of all of Ian's other processes. So they were still there in the background, even though C2 wasn't running them. What we then were able to do is take a look forward. So we've got these processes running the pilot, but what can we do with the rest of it? So we looked at, over the course of the pilot, how long were those other processes running for? So what was the total runtime versus the total capacity of the machines that they were running on? And what we actually found was less than 40% of utilization of the capacity. So even looking at a target of about 50% reduction is quite conservative. The bots, just weren't running for as much time as there were machines to run them. And then the third thing we looked at is looking at support and the impact on the support team. So obviously we know that we can look at reducing licenses and infrastructure, but what's the impact on the support itself? So as Ian said, his support team will continue to grow as the number of bots grows. But what we looked at, as a result of some of the logs, the dashboards and everything that C2 gave us, is how can we impact not just reducing that support team perhaps in numbers to allow fewer people to support the same number of bots, but why are they making certain decisions? So we found a lot of manual intervention beyond your usual kind of re-triggering a bot because it fails. Through conversations with them and through looking at some of the logs, we found inefficiencies in the process. So we'd find maybe some processes that were maybe poorly designed, and it could be something that was not properly built with RE framework with UiPath, or it could be processes that don't have enough data input validation, and therefore the support team are doing some manual preparation to get a bot to work, or it fails and they log in and check the input files and so on. Or it may be exception handling. So we found bots that were reporting themselves as having been successfully completed. When you looked under the hood, there were exceptions there. They weren't reporting them correctly. So even by putting C2 in, C2 would miss things because the bots haven't necessarily been built in the right way. So what we're then looking at is, we can resolve some of those things. So not only can we look at saving Ian's team costs with licenses, we can look at reducing the amount of support effort, but we can also make the processes themselves more effective. So how do we deliver more value in parallel, as well as all the other savings? And so we can improve, the way that everything works, really. So, the support team can now be armed with not just the tools that C2 can give us, the monitoring dashboards, but they've got more resilient bots, and there's auto recovery procedures and everything else that comes with C2. So I think the main thing that we're finding really is that those bots can function more effectively than ever, and with fewer people to support them. So the main thing that Ian and I have been talking about over and over is the ability to do more with less. So the bots can do more, the people can do more, there's fewer licenses, and then we can really start to look at the value going forward.
Super, thank you, Jordan, and thanks for the help during the year. It's been absolutely invaluable, so thank you. Okay, so just want to share some final thoughts after our successful pilot. I think the key 3 points on there are you must analyse your current trends. Like I said, I had a 95% utilisation rate, and then once you dig down into it and you actually work out that a bot is available for 440 hours a month, but it's actually only working 20 minutes. I think that just set the alarm off. And the trend was 18 months ago I had 3 members of staff doing my L1 and I was getting complaints all the time. So I had to increase that cost and that thing. So it's only going to go up. So I need a way of automating the automations. The other key point is I've introduced C2 to my business stakeholders, and that's been absolutely key to getting their support to do this. I'm not responsible for the data, for the process running. I don't get told off if that goes wrong. My business to get told off. They've got to be comfortable with this. I'm thankful that I have a very enlightened business owner who's backed it and said yes, great, go ahead and do it. So that's been key to getting his sort of state, his buy into it. And then if you are thinking about doing a pilot, UK guys, get your key measurements sorted out. And that was a big long conversation between Matt and Ollie and I. What do we actually want to measure? What's going to be the bar by which we're going to say yes, we're going to press ahead with this. We had hoped to have had it signed by now, but obviously Allianz takes a bit longer than, it's like a ship turning really, isn't it? So we're not quite there yet. We've got all the agreements, the bank managers in agreement, my economics guy, and enterprise architecture and all that sort of stuff. They're all in agreement. So it is literally just going through now. So we'll roll out C2. We're going to be viewed as a pilot for the group. I know that there's other people that's done it, but we're on the race platform, which is our group standard platform. So I'm hopeful that we'll move into that, and I can start to reduce my costs even further. And then I've got a big long roadmap. My business are on the agentic. They drunk the Kool-Aid, and now that's all I'm being talked about is the agentic side of things. And as we've seen today, I'm hoping that it will help me manage that going forward as well. So, and it wouldn't be a presentation with IT without an AI-generated picture. So if there are any questions, then please fire away.
last slide said handle expected agentic demands. What
Yes.
demands are you expecting?
I've got a number of processes that they're looking at doing now. So we've kicked off a project it's termed rapid productivity. There's nothing rapid about it, but there'll be other demands that come through. So we're looking at our policy administration and how we import policies into our system. We're looking at EF and OL, so the first notification of loss, and taking that in. And it's not a case of going onto a portal. My garden wall fell down at the weekend, thanks to the big storm that went through. I've gone onto a portal, I've typed in my information, it's all reasonable. I'm hoping they'll agree to it. It's not Allianz, by the way. But ours come in massive long emails, broker slips, etc. So we've got different types of ways of information coming into us, and that will be the agentic side of things.
You mentioned the benefit of infrastructure cost reduction. Can you talk a little bit more about that? It's not something that's really been on my radar, so I was curious what it is.
I guess without speaking for you, Ian, so the way that when Ian mentions about the race platform, it's effectively their UiPath platform. It's an internal team that effectively offers UiPath as a whole. So Ian just gets a single cost and he gets his licenses that run on machines, and he gets all the support and everything from an infrastructure perspective there. So it's similar. So when we talk about the saving of licenses, it's kind of for both. It's him saving the cost he's paying for licenses and the cost he's paying for the infrastructure. So the license bit I refer to just because that's what it immediately shows us for the pilot in C2. But without being able to apply that retrospectively on the wider processes, the one bit of information that we did have from C2 was the runtime. And therefore we could look at, right, you've got this many licenses on this many machines. Here's your total capacity versus here's your runtime. So then we could say, right, well, in theory, yes, you could cut out half of your infrastructure and licenses, because for Ian, it's a single kind of packaged cost.
Ian,
Yes.
You said your business have sort of drunk the Kool-Aid on agentic. I'm interested on two things. Are they worried about the agents getting things wrong, or do they think they're going to get it right all the time? And if they are worried about it, how are they going about to mitigate against that?
So my business will take a very cautious approach towards it. So when you did your demonstration, you put a confidence level in of 90%. We won't go anywhere near that. We'll start off really, really low, and they'll have to work out a way of getting comfortable with what's being said. I've got brain fog and I can't remember the second part of your question.
It's if they were so the confidence level I think I had was like 99% means the agent has to be 99% confident it's got it right for it to go on. Otherwise, it's going to go to a human. So I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we'll have human in the loops for a vast majority of the stuff that we're doing.
And have they thought about how they're going to get that complete loop back in? So it's one thing humans checking it, but how do you then retrain the agent? What's the mechanism they're going to use?
I can't say. We are literally, we've kicked it off in the last couple of weeks. We've done our first sort of, the Robo guy talked about data, so we've literally just gone through the sort of master data side of things. Any sort of retraining of the bots, retraining of the agentic side will then sort itself out over the next coming couple of months. But it's something that is on the radar. This has gone off. it's something that's on the radar for us. We're looking at how to build in resilience, how to build in backup, how to build in the governance side of things. All of that sort of stuff has to be talked about and managed, certainly within my organisation. Ollie.
Over the last 9 months or so, well, first of all, I've really enjoyed working with yourself and the guys at UST. I think it's been incredibly challenging and frustrating at times, but I think we've got past pretty much every hurdle and got people on side within the organisation. But from a partnership perspective, so we started talking through our mutual partners, UST. What do you look for in a partnership?
Good question. I think there has to be an obvious benefit for both parties, and it's really, seeing that benefit and seeing where it can fit in with my organisation. And I guess the key thing is personal relationships and building those up over time. And we've had a couple of meals out. We've talked stuff. You understand my problems. Matt understands my business. So, and and you listen to me. So, what's not to love? But for me, a big part of it is personal, but it's also I've got to see the value and the benefit that will bring for my role and for my customers. I have customers like you. My customer just happens to be AGCS.
Thank you. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Ian. Thank you very much, Jordan.